6:32. Today is January 18th, 2023. Happy New Year's, everyone. And I call to order the Trophy Club Municipal Utility District number 1. We do have a quorum. We're missing Director Hunter. So we will continue. Regular meeting agenda packet, and it's citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the board on any matter, whether or not it is posted on the agenda. The board is not permitted to take action on or discuss any comments made to the board at this time concerning an item not listed on the agenda. The board will hear comments on specific agenda items prior to the board addressing those items. You may speak up to 4 minutes or the time limit determined by the president or presiding officers. To speak during this item, you must complete the speaker's form that includes the topics of your statement. Citizen comments should be limited to the matters over which the board has authority. Lori?
No, sir.
Got nothing?
Nothing.
Crickets. Okay, thanks. Okay, reports and updates. Agenda item 1, staff reports. Capital improvement projects. B, water operations report. C, wastewater systems report. And D, finance reports. Alan?
Good evening, directors. As requested, we now have capital improvement projects written out here. I hope the information here provides useful to you all. A few things for note. For next month, the Waterline Interconnect project has been completed, so that will be removed from this report moving forward. The Waterline project is just about complete, but we have a few minor things that are to be addressed, and hopefully we can get that project wrapped up by February. Another note on page 4, where the FY 2023 lift station improvements, we misstated lift station number 5. That's actually lift station number 2, one of those locations being modified as far as the piping and valve vaults. So we'll get that updated before next month. I believe the materials for number 3 are in place or on site, on premise, and those should be installed this month. And the parts for number 2 have been ordered, and those will be installed once received. The Tyler project, we have one remaining item on that, and that's just our timekeeping function. Scheduled training is forthcoming in the next 2 weeks, I believe. And again, that project is pretty much completed and will be removed from the report moving forward. On the operations reports, everything has also been modified and updated as you all had commented on over the past few months, and believe we're in line with what your requests were and have all of that up to date now for those preferences. Also, finance reports. The only remaining report that we do not have coming out of the new system is the cash reports. There is a cash report that we can spit out now that's kind of a out of the box, but we didn't really like the way that it looked and felt it was more confusing. So Stephen's going to work on trying to find a different way to update that, and hopefully we can use a different style, but for now we think this is the best way for you all to see that. So other than that, the only thing project or report related, Director or President Carr had brought to my attention some discrepancies in some of our maps that we have online. So been looking at some of our old maps from service areas and realized that I guess when the project was started and they originally created the outlying boundaries for our GIS map, which our newer maps are based from, someone didn't really go in and clean up some of those areas along those boundaries. So we've got a request into those folks and getting that information modified. Once we get the map modified, then we'll put the newest and revised map on our website.
On that topic, you may want to get with Wade or someone with the town, because as I mentioned, those 2 lots that are the farthest or furthest northwest corner, that cul-de-sac.
Yes.
There's 2 lots that Denton CAD doesn't show are in the PID. And they're in Trophy Club, it looks like, but they're not in the PID. So I don't know how if they're piggybacking the PID water contract, or they have to be out of district, or what? But we might want
Look
to.
those two properties up today, and from what I could tell, they are part of the PID.
That's what it says.
Correct. And we just
Not
need to
on-
modify, our map is not reflected correctly online.
Right, and not, but, you know, if you look, they're on the tax value, they're getting taxed as a PID, they're getting emergency assessment. But on the town map that shows the PID properties, it doesn't show those two lots. So if that's correct, we just need to make sure that the town extends it to cover that whole cul-de-sac. And the other lots we mentioned, I talked to you earlier about, is the ones to the southeast, the dental office and the Wood Springs, I think it's called, because they're not getting taxed at all.
Right.
So you can check into those. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're going to have Stephen do a little legwork on that for us since he gets to see all the property values that come in. We're going to reach out to Denton and Tarrant County to find out if in fact those have always been out, if partial pieces of the property have been annexed in. I know that there was some redevelopment of that back in the early 2000s, I believe it was. So, say again?
13 is when they were.
13. So we're going to go back and double check and find out what may have transpired on that.
Because some of the maps show that the hotel itself is there, the parking lot is in the mud. And then the mud boundary lines go halfway across the dental office. I don't know what's the other half of insurance or something.
The boundary line is actually at the Town of Trophy Club and Town of Westlake borders, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that triangle piece that is, you turn towards the parking garage.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's what I thought too, but the maps don't reflect that.
Correct.
And neither do the tax rolls in Tarrant County. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone?
I may have missed it, but when is Lift 1 due for completion?
Lift Station 1, let's see here. Let me go back up here. If I'm not mistaken, the contract has it for February, end of February. The contractor gave us a revised schedule 2 or 3 weeks ago. They're hitting it hot and heavy now, and they even told us they plan on being done within a month, and that was roughly a week ago.
Well, there's a lot of interest in it, and there's some very interesting, really heavy-duty equipment over there, and I'm wondering if we're getting any drone shots for community awareness program.
We haven't gone over there and done anything specifically for that project. Mike, if you think about it, you can go over there and get some pictures of that. It'd be great.
Yeah, so far, everything's just been demo and everything like that, so they're just starting to add some new material to the site.
I think the majority of what you're seeing now is what we call the triple bypass.
Yeah.
They have redundant pumps set up too, so that way if one fails, we have another one on backup for each one of the sites being bypassed. So that way we don't have any kind of SSOs or failures.
It was kind of impressive to see that big equipment coming down alongside the golf
It's
course
huge.
and going across.
There's
It was
some
like-
very big equipment,
Correct.
and it's colorful. It would come up good in a
Right.
video.
Did you already hit a golf ball off it though?
Yeah, the other thing that they did is they ran a hose up along one of the fairways, and everybody was asking about that.
I believe that was the very first bypass that we did.
And people don't understand what a lift pump is. You know, that's not something you encounter every day. So I think it's a great opportunity for explaining part of the district's operations.
You do a segment on lift pumps in your education thing.
Well,
You're
why
going to become
not?
a lift station expert. I will say this too, on our customer, on our initiative program that we're working on this month, we're starting to phase into talking more about the distribution system and explaining how it gets from the pumps to the house. If we can do that in one phase, we'll do so, talking about the pumping capacities, getting it to the house, and then we'll get more into the operational side, what we do, how we operate, sampling, that type of thing. So I anticipate maybe about 2 months worth of information on that. Then we're going to roll into the wastewater side where we start talking about the lift stations, collections, how we annually do PM work, that kind of thing. Rolling into lift stations, talking about what they are. That's probably going to be a 2-month phase. And then by the time we get done with that one, then we'll start talking about more conservation, irrigation checkups, working with Scott, those types of videos. That's kind of what we're looking at. And while we're on the subject of that initiative as well, had good conversation with the Medlin Middle School, and right now we're tentatively scheduled for April 4th to go over there and have a conversation with their kids. They've got a field day where they're going to be talking about earth and conservation and some other stuff, and we'll try to fit in and give our informational PowerPoint and videos and that type of
The
thing.
water filtration and all that stuff. You know, from, here's a toilet, here it comes.
We're the green organization in town.
Get a little baby Ruth going, you know.
Just try to explain, how it gets to their house, where it goes from there, and then what we can do, what we do as a district to try to conserve and be, sustainable with ourselves, and how we can promote that to the neighbors.
How many segments do you think you'll have?
Well, right now, we're trying to line it up to where we have cyclical 12-month
Okay.
amount of information. Now, some of these we can repopulate every year, but what we're going to do is kind of come up with a little video library. Once we come out with one little snippet, I'm trying to keep them short enough to where we hold people's attention. We're going to put a little library category on our website, maybe under the About tab, so people can go on there and read that information as well. Maybe video 1, video 2, video 3, so people that want to learn can get on there and look at that.
I was just wondering when it's going to be on Netflix or HBO, you know.
I really hope not. If
Give
so,
it a
then I may
segment
have to turn in my resignation and start a new career.
In the movie industry?
That's right.
Yeah, there
It'd
you go.
probably be a good deal to, once you get a good amount of, done, is let AWBD know, that
We
can
can,
get
we can
information.
promote that to them.
Yeah.
I do have some comments. First of all, I really like the capital improvement projects written out. Probably detail in there that I would have easily missed in a normal meeting. Start off, and I did not give you my usual call. You probably stayed awake nights waiting, where's this guy? Why hasn't he called me about the packet? So I do have some things. First of all, on page 3, right at the very top there, final change order's been submitted, cost savings of roughly $300,000, and then engineering cost estimated savings of another $100,000, $400,000 savings. That's outstanding. I mean, I've seen, projects cost over what you estimate, not come in $400,000 below where you're at.
Excuse me, but how did that happen?
The majority of the cost savings came from some of the minor modifications we made in the field. Some of the parts that were originally designed, we were able to modify some of the installation practices. We were able to change some of the methods of how installation was done in some locations. There was also a section of pipe near the hotel that we were able to delete from the contract because when we got in there, we realized that it's 12-inch PVC pipe and it's not that old, so there was no need to replace it. So we were also able to save on those construction costs. Now, currently we have a balance in engineering of roughly $124,000, but we've got some closing documents, we've got some GIS work, some other line work that we have to get done. So it could be closer to 115, but just being conservative, we threw in $100,000. The majority of that is because we changed how we handle construction when I came on board, and Mike is handling a little bit more of those construction inspection now instead of paying the consultant to go out and handle those. So we're able to save money by doing so.
What was in these numbers, did you include the land purchase that we had to make of the apartments?
Not in this construction, that wasn't part of this. That was one of the original phases of design on the engineering side.
Was that in the whole project, though?
It was the whole project. This is only for the construction piece, not the entire project from A to B.
How are we doing on,
We haven't
The big
figured what
picture.
that looked. We haven't gotten that far yet. So
we're down
this is the-
500,000.
This is no, I know that's not true. So once we get this done and we get all the final change orders in, then what we're going to do is we'll look at our capital funds. We'll see where we started, where we ended, how much remaining funds we have. Since this was money specifically designated through SWIFT for this project, anything that we have left over, Steve and I are going to have a conversation with you all about how we reallocate those funds or pay back towards the debt. So we'll have that conversation once we know the final numbers.
Good. On the bottom of
SWIFT,
that,
which one is it?
It's a bonded, but it's not Swift.
Okay. Which one is the one that has to go back to the project?
water 2.
Swift is the one that is an NS2 line with Fort Worth.
Has to go back to the project
Has to go,
itself,
'cause
right?
there is no other-
Okay, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Talking about Tyler Technologies down there, the Tyler ERP Pro 10, You mentioned that you had a higher than normal call volume for people coming in transitioning to the system and the accounts. Was staff able to resolve those setup problems?
Yes.
On a good,
Yes.
okay.
Actually, too, we had some transition of staff a few weeks ago. We had one staff member move on to a different position at another location, and we were fortunate to advertise and get someone hired that's very qualified. And within 2 days, she was already answering questions like she had been here months. So she's done a great job.
Excuse me, when, are we on Tyler ERP
Yeah.
Pro 10?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail. Thank you for putting that detail together. It gives us a picture of the actions we're taking. When did you bring the additional staff on board to help with phones? Because I gave you an email, I think on January 5th, from D. Barron. I forwarded it, and he had tried to clear a check, and he put his payment in our mailbox on the 22nd of December. And as he noted, on the 5th, he called, he couldn't get through, nobody was answering. And then he tried to leave a message, and the voice mailbox was full. So I assume you brought additional staff on after that, or what?
No, we still have the same amount of staff.
Replacement.
We haven't brought any additional staff. That was, Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was a purging issue with the mailbox, the voice mailbox. When staff was deleting it, they get it in 2 different formats. So it's not only on the phone up front, but it's being rung to another individual. When they delete it off their device, it was assumed that it was being deleted in the main mailbox as well. But my understanding is that the way that it was being deleted by the prior staff member was not the right way, and once y'all realized that, you had to purge it and start doing it a different method.
So basically, it was being deleted off the individual voicemail, but not the collective mainline voicemail. So it stayed in there, stayed in the hopper. So as voicemails read, but were sitting in there, so we had to go in and purge the main line, and now we changed our process to make sure we delete all the voicemails from there.
But for the most part, even now, when the phone's ringing and it goes to a voicemail, if Katie or Taylor are busy helping another resident or customer, as soon as they get off the phone, they're checking voicemails and they're responding to folks.
On page 10, I do this for a couple of my fellow directors who are new to the mud. We have an expense here, a payment to North Texas Groundwater in the amount of $6,800. Could you really quickly tell us what North Texas Groundwater is about?
So I could do that. So we are charged for our well water that we pump out of the ground. It's about 25 cents a thousand. So every quarter they ask us for our well readings. We send in our well readings and they send us a bill for this.
Yeah.
That's legislation that was established mid-2000s, North Texas Groundwater Conservation District, so all municipalities in this regional area are charged the same amount of money per gallon.
But it's just one of those eye-opening things when you say, wait a minute, that's my land, my well. It's my water, and I'm pulling out of the ground, and all of a sudden you're going to charge me 25 cents a thousand gallons for my water? And yeah. But anyway,
Essentially,
I just wanted to highlight it. It's one of these things you go, wait a minute, what's this?
It's essentially regulation of the groundwater wells too, to make sure that the aquifers are not going to be depleted.
Yeah.
And they're pushing more of these municipalities that are growing at a fast rate
Yeah.
to go to surface water and regional efforts.
Yeah, this is still reports. I'm over on page 21 now. And
Can we stay on AP for a minute,
sure.
since we're there? There was some frustration with Tyler when we brought up the new system. And I noticed that our treasurer signed 3 checks during December totaling about $30,000 to Tyler Technologies. And I'm just wondering what we were getting for that money.
Contract.
That was part of the negotiated contract, and all of those services that you see up on the report were part of that. So, Stephen, you can speak to that.
So our contract amount was budgeted back in 2022 for 170,000. With that also includes the year of use, the license use. So it's a little misleading, a little bit inflated because of that. But I mean, it does take a lot of hours, not only staff, but on their side too, to build a platform. So every time we're on the phone with them, going through testing, building, and then going live and going through all we're being charged for part of the contract.
Then we'll have an annual contract fee.
As far as citizens, are we still getting calls on setting up accounts or?
Yeah, so we, as of right now, we have about 500 left that need to be set up. Majority has been funneled through. We're walking through. We've got a printout online to show them step by step with pictures. We're walking through on the phone. Some residents are a little unfamiliar with navigating around the website, so we try to help them where it's at and help them build their platform or build their profile there on the phone. Some of our phone calls would normally be 5 minutes. I'm now taking, a little extra longer time, which means it takes a little longer for us to return some voicemails because of that reason too.
Well, I consider to be pretty tech savvy, and it wasn't the easiest process. It could have been, streamlined a little bit better. Then, okay, find your account number, do this, do that, and there's young people and elderly people that, I mean, to me, unless they're on the computer and they're, computer savvy, it would have been very difficult. So, is Tyler helping out on any of this stuff?
No, that's our responsibility to walk our customers through setting up their account. I mean, the platform it's a template platform. If you look at other places that have Tyler also, I mean, they look identical. So it's on us to help them walk them through to set their account up. We had that two-step authentication. It's important. I know it's a little more hassle to get set up. You do have to know your account number and your last payment.
Yes.
But it keeps someone from getting in and being able to create your account and get your information. So there is a reason for it.
Yeah.
But it's only needed the first time. After the first time you set it up, I mean, you can save the password, or you can just, pay as one time. You don't have to have that information.
If 500's a pretty big number, do you have any time frame when those are going to get resolved, or?
Clarify what that 500 number looks like. So typically on the 20th, we pull a late notice report, and we're anywhere between 400 and 500 late notices that are sent out to people on a monthly basis. So
How many?
400 to 500 on a monthly basis.
So late notices are going out right during the due before, the disconnect. So this is a normal situation here. It's a little bit higher, it's about 500 right now, but we have some customers that are getting it ready for payment. So the 500 is basically payments that have not been received since we migrated to the new system. So we are actively working, trying to get everybody signed up for it. Most of the ones now we're noticing are residents that have it on credit card drafts, so they've never looked at their account, never had to worry about it. And, just getting that information out that, yes, you haven't had to put it in for 10 years, but at this one time, we need you to go ahead and put your account information in there, set it up.
Yeah, they take it out like right after the bill. In fact, before I got the bill, they took it out on the credit card. So around the first, or not the first of this month.
How the customers.
Well, you would have to set it up. So the customer now residents have the ability to set up any date that they want. It used to be before, staff had to go in and actually do bank drafts and credit card drafts physically every single month at a certain date of the month. Now, for bank drafts, it's done the same way, but credit card drafts, the customer can set up any day of the month that they want to pay.
Yeah.
It'll just automatically draft that time each month.
Okay, and how are we addressing these late payments because of the implementation?
So there is no late fees, there's no disconnect fees, everything's postponed. We're working with everybody, we're ensuring them, let them know, because sometimes customers are just now realizing they're 2 months behind because it never did come on their statement. They're waiting for it to be on their statement. So we're walking them through, ensuring them that there is no penalties or anything. We're just trying to get everybody set up right now.
Okay, we need to continue that until
Yeah.
everyone's situated, and then add a month to it.
And we've made a lot of leadway over this last barely 3 weeks. We've seen a lot of traction as far as customers needing help getting it set up and getting everybody ready to go.
Okay.
So we are at, I think, 3,200 payments now. That was done as of right now, as of the time we migrated over. Now, some of those might be double payments, meaning someone already paid in November and they're paying December's bill now, and they already paid in December for November's bill. But majority of them are new time, getting them set up and getting them going.
Okay.
I know,
We're kind of tracking that project too before we determine to start assessing late notices. This month, we'll probably go ahead and have her run a late report on the 20th like she normally would. And then we'll start our process of communicating like we do on a monthly basis, sending out emails, making phone calls, letting people know that they're late.
Do you mind putting that in the weekly update, just where we're at on account setup, and so we can keep an eye on it?
Okay?
Thank you.
this one, I'm sure that Director Brewster's going to enjoy.
On to page 20?
I'm on to page 21 now.
21.
And this is the green side of the equation, the green side of the equation, as I look at it paying off. Trophy Club, Country Club affluent charges, $327,000. It's down in the middle there. That's purchasing our treated wastewater. That's a good thing.
That is,
Is that correct? Year to date?
That doesn't tally with something that Alan gave me much earlier, several months
where's he
ago.
at?
He's on page 21.
I'm on page 21. I'm in the middle of, let's see, that's the very first data revenues.
Yeah, TCC affluent charges?
Year-to-date activity. This is for
Last year.
last year, would have closed out into September. So you might, it depends, if you got a different time frame, then the number would be different, but this is,
It wouldn't be much different, but what I got from Alan several months ago was the preceding 12 months was $78,000.
Yeah, that's, that
Yeah,
327.
I'm looking at it right now.
That 327, because we only budgeted 60,000.
yeah, that's not,
yeah.
he's looking into that.
Thank you for
Total-
bringing that up.
Hate
Total
to,
budget,
hate to
60.
burst your balloon, but that number isn't gonna be right.
Isn't going to float?
I don't think, the country club's gonna pay us, 327,000 for
Come on.
affluent.
Come on, be a sport.
No. Especially when we only budgeted
Well,
60,000.
okay. Well,
That's
let's let
Only
Steve on it.
2,086%
Yeah.
above budget.
Yeah. Oh, I'd understood that we'd made some a little bit different arrangement with the country club so that they were, getting all of our affluent.
They're purchasing as
Oh, did
much
they not tell you
affluent
they're
as we
gonna
can
raise your
provide when
dues?
they request it.
I'm sorry?
They're purchasing as much affluent as we can provide when they request it.
Okay.
So if we treat 950,000 gallons a day and they request that and they need that, then we'll pump that as they request. There are a lot of days that there's not a whole lot pumped. Obviously, if it rains.
How much are
or-
we getting per thousand,
Do you remember that number?
off the top of your head?
I don't remember off the top.
That's around 75 cents,
Pardon me?
78 cents.
It's not a lot.
Effluent rate per thousand,
Well, it's 80 cents.
80
so
cents per
it's
1,000 gallons.
8
I
cents per
think that's
gallon.
something we were going to look at when we look at the rate order.
Next,
again.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 80,
Okay.
at 80 cents per thousand,
You
that
can-
312 number just wouldn't float.
Yeah, you can research that, Steve, and get back to us.
There's something else behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
Have anything else?
Yeah, I'm looking at, it's a transaction that was brought over when UB went live, so I need to double check on that and to
Okay.
find out. It's like they brought over all history and called it as one. I need to figure out what's going on with that.
That was my last one. See, now, if I had talked with Alan about this
Yeah,
before bringing it up to
Good catch there,
this, we
Bill.
wouldn't have had this discussion.
yeah, good catch. Okay, anybody else have any questions on the staff reports and updates? No.
One other thing I wanted to mention, on the 23rd, Pipeline Analysis is going to be in town, and they're going to start our annual evaluation of the wastewater system. That includes the manhole inspections, smoke testing, CCTV, and cleaning. So we're going to push some information out. We're working on that draft data right now for Facebook, e-blasts, and on our website. But that's part of our annual systems evaluation. Just want to make sure
They
y'all are
doing
aware of that.
another section of town?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Because this will be section 3?
This will be the third time we've done it, yes.
Yeah.
And we'll have a map that we post out and all of that as well.
Good, good.
I got one last question. We don't manage the fire station, but we pay for the new truck. Where's that at?
The last I knew, the new truck was in Houston being upfitted. I believe
That
that
was
they
2
may
months
have,
ago.
I believe that they have not, I don't know if they've received it yet. Haven't heard any word on that.
Okay, I was just wondering, yeah, I was told it's gonna be December, so
And
guess it might be February.
speaking of the fire truck and the fire station, how's the door?
Right now, you know as much as I do.
Okay.
The town staff is working on getting a structural engineer to come out and assess that. Contact has been made with the trucking company's insurance provider. They've been responsive. As soon as the consulted engineer comes out and gives estimates and their evaluation, they will send that over to the claims adjuster for that trucking company's insurance company. And then I've also made TML aware of the situation so that way they can review what's being submitted. And then they can also make sure that they follow up in the event that this trucking company falls by the wayside or whatever we need to do to make sure that we're taking care of
What
ourselves.
happened to the door?
So a few weeks ago, my understanding is a few weeks ago, there were some new fire hoses being delivered on pallets in an enclosed semi-truck. Semi-truck was backing up to the bay doors. I guess that truck
Backed up
missed the
through.
bollard enough to where it hit one of the pillars in between the bay doors,
Whoa,
cracked some of the fascia, and I believe Jason said that one of the doors, the rollers, were not working properly, and the guides and such were knocked out of whack again. So they have that one shut down and have moved their equipment around to accommodate that.
yeah, I saw them being dispatched when we came up for the meeting, so I guess they're getting their trucks out. Okay, anything else on reports and update?
Nope, that was fun.
We're gonna have to cut the rest of the agenda short because of the time we took on the report and
Yeah.
updates, okay? Okay, consent agenda. All matters listed as consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Directors and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Agenda number 2, and it's consider an act to approve the consent agenda. A, December 2022 combined financials. B, December 14th, 2022 regular meeting minutes. C, quarterly investment report, first quarter, fiscal year 2023. And D, tax collection report, first quarter, fiscal year 2023. Do I have a motion, or does anyone want to remove any of those
I'd
items?
like to pull D for a quick comment.
Okay, Director Rose is going to remove D, so we're looking at A, B, and C. Anyone else want to remove anything else? Okay, I'll open for a motion.
Move to approve.
Okay, Vice President Brewster makes a motion to approve items A, B, and C of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Director Rose. All in favor, show of hands. Okay, I have 4 unanimous, and Director Hunter is absent. Okay, D, Director Rose asked for this to be pulled. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, just very quickly, I see on the report that we're making progress in that, if I remember right, the town of Trophy Club did have deficient taxes or delayed taxes on 5 properties, and we're down to 2, so that's looking better. And with that, I'll move to approve consent agenda item D.
Okay, consent agenda 2, D as in dog. Director Rose makes a motion to approve tax collection report first quarter fiscal year 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. I saw your hand going up there. I have a second by Vice President Brewster. All in favor, show of hands. Unanimous, with Director Hunter being absent. Okay, we're moving into regular sessions. Lori, did I see, do we have anyone that wanted to speak on any agendas, or no?
I have not had anybody. We have Rob to speak on the, Rod Abbott to speak
Okay.
on the audit.
Yeah, I know. You didn't have anything? Okay. I saw you go over to the table. So. Oh, okay. That's 10 cents, please. Yeah. Okay, regular session, agenda 3, receive update from audit committee. Rose and Hunter. And so you're solo there, Phil?
It's solo. I've been solo for quite a while. But anyway, we did meet with the auditor, we being
Okay,
Stephen, audit committee.
right. But you and Tracy were on the audit committee, right?
Yes,
So both of you met?
no,
Okay, so just you met?
I met.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, and Stephen met with the auditor and went through the audit. It went extremely well. Very pleased, 180 degrees from this point last year. In fact, going through the audit, as I said, I thought the presentation was better. The auditor will explain a couple of items about it that changed because of the different auditing, I won't call them styles, but methods, and I think it's an improvement. There were 3 things in that meeting that were found reflected on the audit. I found a date that was incorrect, and the general manager showed me up by finding two items of punctuation that were incorrect on the audit.
So
The rest of it was really good.
we didn't get any extra documents for other cities this year? or-
No, and it was timely, and I had plenty of time to look at it. Yeah, plenty of time to
That's
look
just,
at it. And you notice, I mean, we went through it, went through the audit, with the group, and looked it over. And then I suggested that we get it out to the rest of the board as quick as possible, because I really didn't like walking into a dais, sitting down, and having somebody drop something like that on my desk and expect me to approve it, having not even looked at it.
But you did that last year.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I voted
yeah,
against it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you
Thank
that
you.
video was worth a lot of captions out of, because
Yeah.
that was
Very,
not,
yeah, thank you very much for doing that, and Stephen, as usual, probably good job on that, and Alan, good catch on the other 2. Okay, you completed, is that it?
that
Okay.
completes
Okay, we're
my
gonna move to-
report.
We're going to move to Agenda 4, consider and take appropriate action to approve the fiscal year 2022 annual financial audit report prepared by the greatness of Rod Abbott.
And he'll do it.
Nice to see you again.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I really mean this, glad to see you.
Yeah.
After last year, holy crow.
Fiscal year 2018 was the last time.
Yeah, at least you're here in person. We got a call in last year, so.
Yeah. So that's kind of been a different issue, but I've had some Zoom calls myself. It's good to be back
Yeah.
in front of everybody. My name is Rod Abbott, CPA. If you're new to the board and I haven't met you. In the front of the audit is a loose letter. This is, if you've heard my spiel before, this is just the standard communications that I'm required to give to the district for the audit and any audit that I do. So basically, it's just standard communications. At the bottom of the first page, it says that there was no difficulties in performing the audit. It's important that you're on site during the audit process. We communicate to you that I didn't have any difficulties performing the audit. Everybody agreed on the audit adjustments that needed to be made for the audited financials. No disagreements in any other natures with the management during the audit process. And then the last page is the actual audit adjustments. Number 1 and 2 are your net pension liability adjustment, other post-employment benefits adjustments. So these 2 are the balances provided by TCDRS for OPEB that you update annually. They don't affect your regular ongoing funds, your capital projects, your debt service, or your general fund. And that long-term debt account group, that is just, all that affects is your full accrual basis financial statements that I present to the board. So because of that, I don't consider any kind of deficiency that Stephen didn't post these adjustments. I had time in the summer, we might look at together and show him how to. But really, it has no effect.
So because of that, I don't think there's any issues with me posting that versus the district itself. Adjustments 3 and 4. Adjustment 3 is removing an interest payable balance from the debt service fund. The prior auditor wanted that payable in that fund because he was presenting everything on a full accrual basis with just one presentation. We've gone back to the fund financial statement presentation, and so we've removed that balance. And number 4 is a similar thing for the general fund. The general fund will defer any property taxes it hasn't received and not recognize it as revenue until it is received on the modified accrual basis of accounting. That's something that was undone that we're redoing. And so again, those 2 adjustments are a one-time deal basically to get us back to the prior fund financial statement presentation. Okay. As far as the bound portion audit, pages 1, 2, and 3 are the auditor's opinion. The format and the language in this report, GASB and the AICPA has changed this year. The opinion now is at the very top of page 1, the second paragraph. And so the language of the second paragraph, with me saying that I believe the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects, all that language is still the same, but I guess they decided they wanted to state that up front and just tell you, the district, that you're getting an unmodified or quote-unquote clean audit opinion. If you look at the top of page 2 in that paragraph, there is some new language there. Many smaller districts, smaller cities, and smaller organizations don't really understand the objectives of an audit, you know, finding $50 of fraud versus materially correctly adjusting your financial balances. And so this talks about this is an annual financial audit, and the focus is on stating those financial statements and balances materially correct, and that only reasonable assurance is provided for that. It goes on to say that the risk of not detecting a material misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omissions, misrepresentations, or the override of internal controls. So they're being more specific with this new template, telling clients that, you know, this isn't really targeted as far as testing your controls 100% and making sure they're working every single month. It's more about the year-end balances and making sure we target our risk, but not charge you 10 times as much on an annual basis to give you that more assurance on those matters. That makes sense to everybody? Okay. So over on page 11 and 12, we'll find your financial statements on the full accrual basis with all of your funds consolidated. And so this will be consistent with the financial statements you saw from the prior year auditor on the full accrual basis. These financial statements, like on page 11, will contain your capital assets, including assets, and it will include your long-term debt also under liabilities. And so I'm going to just gloss over these financials because you work on a fund financial basis unless you have specific questions. But on page 12, the third line from the bottom, I just wanted to point out the change in net position on this full accrual basis was a positive $3,227,149. And so just keep that number in mind as we compare it to the fund financial basis that we'll go over here. If you turn to page 13, the district's balance sheet is back to presenting 3 governmental funds for the district. general debt service and capital projects. This is the way you operate on a day-to-day basis, and so I think this presentation gives you a little more value as far as comparisons. Just to hit the highlights, we can dig in more detail if you want, but general fund cash was up $915,000. Investments were up $352,000. And probably the most important number on this page is the bottom left, the third line from the bottom, on bottom left is unassigned fund balance for the general fund, your unassigned reserve, so to speak. It comes in at a very healthy $8.9 million, nearly $9 million total. There is some guidance on this. The Government Finance Officers Association wants governments to leave at least 2 months of operating annual expenditures as reserves for your unassigned fund balance. This balance here comes in at 10.6 months. So very, very healthy.
Are those reserves combined between the mud and the fire?
Technically, they would be.
Yeah, they would.
Auditing purposes, they
Right.
combine them.
Excuse me?
Yes, technically, they would be combined for
Yeah.
auditing purposes.
It's 122 and 135 funds, they're both in the general fund.
It takes all of
Yeah.
our cash
You know
funds.
the breakout of those?
About 700,000 roughly is
Mud?
fire.
Oh, 700,000? Okay.
The rest would be the mud.
Then on assets, that's total assets, all the mud owns, including the fire too?
Well, all the fire assets are in our books, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the new truck, is that, we technically own it, we've put money towards it, so is that an asset already?
So it's not, it's right now it's CIP, meaning we haven't taken delivery, so it hasn't become an asset on the
Okay, so
books
that,
until we officially
that
get it.
million plus is not in this asset amount, is that correct?
Correct. It won't be until we transfer it from capital expense to an asset, correct?
It's in the CIP, correct. So
Which will
it's
be reflected in next year's audit, correct?
correct. Once it's closed down, it gets carried over.
Yeah, and again, on this balance sheet, it doesn't present capital assets, and so it's not part of the equation as far as the long-term assets.
Okay.
The only other thing, the big change in capital projects fund was the investments in that fund was down about $2.5 million. But again, that's just the nature of the fund. You're making you're spending money on your projects. So over on page 15, this is statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. And the big news was last summer, the exceptional drought that we had. And so water charges and wastewater charges combined, they were up about 1.5 million. I think y'all pump more than ever. Is that right? Property taxes in the general fund was up about 200,000. Overall revenues in general fund up about 1.6 million. Expenditures, water and wastewater expenditures were up about a little over $1 million, but nearly all of that was your water cost. And so it's kind of a good problem to have. If you're pumping more, you're going to pay for more. And so besides that, capital outlays, $2,049,000 general fund was up $965,000. You have principal retirement, go a little lower in the general fund, and you'll see that you were still able to afford about a $1.5 million transfer out to the debt service fund for debt service assistance. And after all that, bottom left-hand corner, the net increase in fund balance for the general fund came in at a positive $994,044. So really good results there. I'm sure that the drought helped, but it's not the whole equation for getting good positive results, that's for sure. Then you have your debt service fund in the middle column that was kind of break even for the year. And the capital projects fund where you had 2.7 million of expenditures for the year. And so by its very nature, that fund is going to show big increases and big losses just depending on the activity for a given year for that fund. So the bottom right corner, the net change in fund balance is a negative $1,667,000. So it's just the reverse of the full accrual basis financials that we looked at before that show the $3.2 million increase in net position. Because on that basis, you capitalize your capital assets and you pull them out of expense and depreciate them over time. But for your type of operations, the way you budget for cash flow and what you're going to spend on capital outlays each year, I think it's good to have both presentations here, so you can see what the results are each way. Okay. Page 36 towards the back is just to go over the budget versus actual for the general fund. The far right column on this statement will show if you had a positive variance with your final budget versus actual results, or if you had a negative variance. And so the big outliers are the top line as far as pumping water and the water charges coming in at a positive $810,165. And again, with the associated water costs, the biggest negative variance on water expenditures was the water costs, which led to a negative $259,951 variance for that expenditure line item. But bottom right, you will see your overall budget variance versus actual came in at $1,495,000. So really good results there. We don't budget for the same revenue on water in the coming year. I'm sure y'all know that, but I'll throw it out there anyway.
I've been waiting a few years for us to have a dry year,
Right.
generate some revenue like that to offset some
Just
construction
deal with the yellow
costs.
lines and get a little more revenue in it.
Yep.
Well, that's the big picture. Internal controls look good. For the size of your staff, I think you've got adequate segregations of duties. There's good processes in place, and not only good processes, there's good documentation of the processes as far as processing payroll or monthly closeout procedures, good sign-offs on invoices, reconciliations, things of that nature. As far as my testing of invoices, deposits, things of that nature, there was no unusual, unexplainable transactions, nothing that looked suspicious. And though I'm not allowed to give an actual official opinion on internal controls, I didn't note any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. And if I had those, I would be required to report those to you and make recommendations. And I have none of those. That's the big picture.
Got a question on page 10.
Page 10?
It is regarding the water rates every, I guess it's February or March, I guess it'd be March. We get a report on which way we need to go. And that's implemented in April 1st, isn't it?
The
Water rates, if we change them?
the sewer rate change
Sewer
is
rate.
effective April 1st.
Right.
We do it, it includes December, January, February.
And then
You
April,
gotta make a decision and there, is that right?
Technically, we
Yeah.
bring it to the board. The recommendations are come to the board in March
March.
for approval.
March.
That's correct,
Yeah.
which take effect April 1.
Yes. So this is right.
okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I do have one On the agenda, it says approve. I was trying to remember whether we approve or accept the audit.
I believe it's been approved. Tony, do you know if
Yeah,
approved?
I recommend approval.
I move to approve the fiscal year 2022 annual financial audit report prepared by Rod Abbott, PLLC.
Okay, I have a motion by Director Rose to approve the audit report, and I have a second by Treasurer, we'll just call it Doug Harper. Okay. Any questions? Good job, staff.
Yeah,
And all in
outstanding.
favor, show of hands. Unanimous with Director Hunter being absent.
All right, thank y'all.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you,
Nice to
Rob.
see you again.
You too.
Come back next year.
Yeah.
Okay, that brings us up to, let me see, 3, 4, okay. What the heck? A second, let me find my place here. Okay. We're on executive session. Do we have items, let's see, 6, 7?
Yeah,
We want to go in executive session? Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
There's stuff to talk about.
executive session, it's pursuant to section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act. The board may consult with its attorney in executive session on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Open Meetings Act, or to seek advice of counsel on legal matters involving pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offers. A, consult with legal counsel to secure legal advice concerning the adoption of rules restricting electioneering and installation of political signs on district property. B, consult with legal counsel to secure legal advice regarding the annexation of or provision of out-of-district service to real property located outside the district's boundaries. It is 7:29, and we'll move into executive session. It is 8:36, and we're back into regular session. Agenda number 6, consider an act regarding items discussed in executive session. We have item A, consult with legal counsel to secure legal advice concerning the adoption of rules restricting electioneering and installation of political signs on district property. There's no action being taken on that item. Number B, consult with legal counsel to secure legal advice regarding the annexation of or provision of out-of-district service to real property located outside the district boundaries. And on that, there's no action taken. We just direct the general manager to stay in communication with the trophy club managers. Okay, number 7. Do we have anyone have any comments on those?
Nope.
Okay. Items for number 7, items for future agendas. Anyone have anything?
We have already customer deposits next month
Yes?
and the strategic committee down on there.
And the strategic,
From the strategic committee on
Okay.
Saturday's agenda.
that's Ben and myself.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay. And there's a meeting on the 25th?
That's correct.
Alan, I think back from the audit committee discussion, there was a possibility of having the reserve balances addressed.
Correct.
The next month or the month after, or
I
something like that.
thought we had talked about March, but it may be February.
Okay,
I'll-
I'm
put
not
it
saying
on.
doing it next month, I'm just saying just a refresher on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, on the strategic committee one, I'll need a Zoom link. I'll be in the great state of Florida.
Okay.
Maybe. Don't know.
We'll go ahead and populate one and have it for you if you're out.
Can we back up on executive session B for just a second?
Sure.
because I think some valuable information. You, Ellen and Wade have been having had a good meeting, and there's good interaction there, and I want to make sure that, that the town council and appropriate people, well, Wade has all the information that we discussed.
Everything that Wade and I have discussed, you have seen.
Okay.
The only thing that's different is the map that we talked about tonight, but they're also going to be populating that map. Again, this is just informational purposes and trying to make sure that communications between both governing bodies is similar in nature and factual, and it's all correct.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. You have all the future agenda items, right?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to 8, set the meeting dates, future meeting dates. February 15th, 2023 at 6:30 PM. And that would be in this building. Anyone have any issues with that, or? Okay. And someone will advise Tracy, I guess, of the meeting, correct?
We'll send her out the information like
Okay.
normal, yes.
Okay. I move to adjourn the meeting. It is 8:40, we'll call it.
Well done.